Hello and welcome once again to South Tonight, coming to you from Maison and Chateau in Glanworth Mill in County Cork. Now tonight on the show we meet professional pianist Rupert Ziegler and find out about his connection to the Maison and Chateau group. But first, ahead of all that, it's our finance feature, and we're doing what we've been promising to do for weeks, which is to tackle the area of home insurance once again, because it's a very big area. So we welcome back Gerry Owens from Mobile Mortgages. Hello, Gerry.
Martina, how are you?
Very good. Now, I think the key thing is that, market prices for houses have been going down, and our viewers are wondering, well, why is my home insurance premium still going up?
Okay. The primary reason is that the insurance policy on your house is going to pay for its reinstatement. And the cost of materials, the cost of labour, while they have come down a little bit, one thing that has changed in this year is that companies have recognised when they have to rebuild, if it's a complete destruction, they must build it in compliance with modern building regulations. And that may mean ripping out the foundations and putting in the new foundation that would include radon barriers and all that stuff. So there is an increased cost. You're not replacing exactly what was there before. It's going to be a better build because it must comply with new regulations. And that's adding about 7.5% to your building sum assured.
All right. Now, how do you know what price to put on the such things happening as, fire, explosion, storm, flood, all that?
Yeah, insurance companies work the system as in you're insuring the house against total destruction for the beginning. Because you couldn't pick out, I'll only insure against a fire damage or water damage. So you say, in the basis that the house is completely destroyed, this is what it would cost to put it back in place. That's called reinstatement. Okay? The Royal Society of Chartered Surveyors in Ireland give us a table of charges, cost per square foot for replacement. All right? Now in Cork, it's working out at about €145 per square foot. And in Dublin, it's a little less than €200 a square foot. Mm-hmm. So if you have to replace a house, all right, that gives you the figure you start off from. You can't individualise it. Now, you add in your contents into that as a separate issue. But I want to make a distinction here. The buildings part of the house has to do with the structure and fitted furniture and fitted items. Okay? White goods, carpets, clothes, their contents.
Sure.
Okay.
The fitted kitchen, though, is part of the building.
Fitted kitchen is part of the building.
Before, yeah.
Okay. Now, however, if you've gone off and you've bought a non-standard kitchen, you've paid serious money for granite worktops, for special woods, special finishes, then you must account for that as an additional on top of the normal. So if you have a 1,000 square foot property, you're going to say, right, at 145 a square foot, that's 145,000. But if you've spent serious money on a perfect kitchen that's got granite worktops and maple wood doors and all the rest of it, costing 20,000, add the 20 on top of that again.
Okay.
Because the 145 per square foot deals with standard materials, standard construction.
Right.
In addition to that, if you have a property that has, say, a preservation order on it, mm-hmm. or has a particular design, you must allow for those details in the property.
Right, which if you were to do a rebuild, there might be items needed to be had from a salvage company, which might be difficult and expensive or whatever.
Because if you have an old house, if it's a preservation order, it must be built exactly from the materials that were there of that day, and the only place you're going to get them is they've been stripped from another house that may have been destroyed, and this is what was salvaged from it. Okay. And
one of your points as well, Gerry, I think repeatedly, is if you are told by your broker or whoever that, right, this is the policy for you, maybe get it in writing, and Absolutely. To say, well, why do you think? You ask the question, why is this the right one for me? You
have to get that. Mm. Why is this policy the best policy for me? And look at the details and the terms and conditions. Mm-hmm. Ask the broker, what does it mean? Mm-hmm. There's no point in... I'm doing this business for 30 years. And even today, there'll be little quirks that clients will raise with me that I'll say, oh yeah, I'll have to check that out for you.
Yes.
Okay? A lot you know because you learn it from day to day, from week to week, month to month. But for customers who are trying to buy insurance themselves, they have no experience of buying insurance, but they presume from the wording in contracts that one house insurance policy is the same as another house insurance policy. Sadly, that's not the case. Because some insurance companies will have one list of perils they'll cover, and another company might have a much longer list of perils to cover, and each peril costs a little bit. Sure. But it's about the quality of the policy.
All right. So should we be looking at policies from all the different companies and poring over them, which takes an awful lot of time and maybe gets a little bit confusing?
It can do, and that's where you get professional advice. Because then the broker is taking responsibility for saying, this is the best policy in the market, and no matter what happens to you, this is going to cover you. Because what you don't want is to make a claim and find that the insurance company says, sorry, that's not covered under your policy. And accidental damage is one thing I'm very, very caught up about. It is the most frequent reason why people claim on a house insurance policy. But if you haven't specified that you want accidental damage and you buy a policy from, say, the internet, it may not be automatically included in the policy that you choose by ticking a box. So be absolutely certain when you do get the policy details that you check to see, am I covered for this and this and this? And ask the question. Send an email back to the insurance company and say, look, I've got my policy details, I don't understand this. Ask the question. Or get professional advice.
Now, obviously, not every insurance policy is the same, is what we're learning here. Different things are covered. And I guess it comes from the point as well that insurance companies need to make a profit in order to keep solvent. So
that's their business. I mean, they need to collect premiums from a big number of customers. They know that not every customer is going to claim at the same time, and some customers will never claim in their lifetime. Yeah. But some customers are unlucky enough to have an event happen that causes damage. It's the event that causes damage that causes loss. And you're trying to cover the cost, the loss that's associated with an event happening. All right? And people often get confused about what are they covered for. And again, the most important thing is if they come home to their house and they find there's damage, there's a break-in or whatever it is, you phone your insurance company's 24-hour hotline and say, I think my house has been burgled, or I know the house has been damaged by water because I can see the water. So what do I do next? And they'll tell you what you have to do. What you don't want is to make the claim a few days later and be told, sorry, you must notify us within 24 hours, otherwise your claim is no longer valid.
Because there is at least one company that kind of operates on that.
I believe so,
yes. Supposing somebody comes home and they find their house has been gutted by fire, God forbid, and you mentioned a figure of 145,000 earlier as maybe possibly reinstatement for a house in Cork. Will that person get the 145,000?
Strictly speaking, yes. However, if the cost of reinstatement is, say, 200,000, they'd only get the 145.
Because that's what they've insured for?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, the other implication of the 145 is, let's, for example, say that you only have a partial claim, and the claim value is, we'll say, 50,000. And to make the figures easy, let's say we've insured the property for 100,000 and the reinstatement value is actually 200,000. So you're only half covered. Your claim is 50, you only get half of the claim. Because the insurance company will say, you're half insured with us and you're half insured with yourself. Now, the other question people must look at is, what if I'm overinsured? If you have a house that's reinstatement value 200,000, but I've insured it for 300,000, will I get more money back to build a better house? The answer is no. Again, the loss adjuster will come out, they'll review the property you have based on the square footage, and they'll say, hold a second, this house would cost 200 to replace, to reinstate. Even though you're 300,000 covered, they'll still only pay you the 200. Because this isn't about making profit on an insurance claim. It's about being covered for the loss that arises due to damage caused by whatever event.
And what you were just talking about being partially covered and they're giving you half, which sounds terribly unfair to me. That's known as the average rule, is it?
That's the average rule. Right. That's the average rule. So where again, the insurance company apportions the cost of the damage between yourself as an insured person and they as the insurer, because you have only paid for half the insurance. Remember, what the insurance company wants to do is they want to do it right. But they want also to avoid situations where somebody is going to play silly beggars and try and buy cheap insurance. You can't buy cheap insurance, okay? But you can certainly play with the figures to make it cheaper. The sting in the tail is, if you have to make a claim, it could be very expensive.
Okay, and we'll have to leave it there. Well, thank you very much, Gerry, for informing us once again and trying to clarify a few matters. It is a very huge area and one in which a lot of people can get caught. Now, any queries for Gerry can be sent to us by email to info@channelsouth.ie. Next week on the show, because it's like an every second week thing, we've got Stephen Dunn back with us for interior design advice. And again, the same email address applies if you wish to get in touch with him. And we'll see Gerry again soon as well. Now, we are in Glanworth in County Cork tonight in Maison and Chateau. And up next, we meet the professional pianist, Rupert Ziegler is his name. He's got a lot to tell us about the many aspects of life here at this furniture store with a difference. It wouldn't be fair to just call it a furniture store at all in Glanworth Mill. Join us in part 2 for that.